This is your weekly update for the greater Portland, Maine area. These are closed sales in the last 7 days, median numbers. Days on market went up a little bit this week to 17 days on market. The list to sale ratio finally came below 100%, 99%. The sold price dropped again to $440,000. Your average 30-year fixed interest rate ticked up again to 6.23%, and US inflation still up 3% year over year, although that number is a little outdated. This week, three things I want to talk about. The shutdown is finally over. I also want to talk about NAR's profile of a buyer and a seller. And then finally, will the rate cuts keep going? Why or why not? So the shutdown finally came to an end. Thank God. People commenced getting paid. But some important things to know about that is that even though people are back to work, the financing has commenced, there are still some reports we will not get, and we've been told we may not ever get them. So the job numbers and the inflation numbers from this past month are never going to come out, which means when the Federal Reserve meet and they make their decision, they're going to have limited information to base that decision on. So put a pin in that. The next thing I want to talk about is NAR did their annual survey of what is a buyer and a seller look like. Some pretty shocking information in this profile. The biggest one was that the percentage of buyers that are first-time home buyers was at 21%, which is the lowest it's been in history. We typically see that number that 40% of the buyers are first-time home buyers. In addition to that, the average age of a first-time home buyer was up to 40, which is overall pretty old for first-time home buyers in the United States. And 26% of all buyers bought all cash, which is extremely high. So what does this really mean? What you have is older buyers selling homes that are predominantly paid off and then going and buying other homes. The first time home buyers using their income are still feeling priced out of the market. So as a seller, you need to keep in mind, what is the audience, right? Who is coming to look at your home? What are their tastes going to be like? How particular are they going to be? Why are they moving? Something to keep in mind. So the last thing I want to talk about is rate cuts. We had the last two periods, a rate cut come. Then we were expecting maybe one or two more to come out. But right now, the odds of a rate cut at the end of December and the next period continue to drop. We're down to about 50%. One of the reasons for this, looping us back to the first point, is that the Fed Reserve doesn't have the information they need. So it's two things that they very strongly look at is inflation going up and are jobs coming down? If inflation is coming down and jobs are coming down, then rates are probably coming down, right? But right now, we don't have the most recent inflation numbers, and we also don't have the Bureau of Labor and Statistics' most recent job numbers. So the Fed is going to have to sort of make some assumptions, lean heavily into other sources, and because of that, and because the job numbers that they do have are not as weak as as anticipated, they're less likely to do a cut in December. All of that being said, I still think there are pretty good odds that these rate cuts are going to continue. I think there are pretty good odds that the job market is even more weak than is being reported right now, for better or worse. If I was a seller right now, I would, as I said, be aware that my buyer has shifted, right? Who I am targeting for my home is not necessarily what you think of or what I think of in my mind when I think of a buyer. It's probably not a first-time home buyer. It's probably not somebody below 40. It is probably somebody returning to the market, looking for something that they're going to be in for the next 15 years. That's what the statistic says. And it's probably somebody with a lot of cash who's going to be a little bit more particular. So keep those things in mind. I hope this was helpful. Have a great week.